Bowser and his son have tried to take over the Mushroom Kingdom and kidnap Peach multiple times. However, which of the two is the better villain? Who has the best personality, plans, boss fights, and overall design in the games? Well, let's find out. He's the leader and the most powerful of the Koopas, an evil-driven race of turtle-like creatures, and has been an archenemy of Mario ever since his debut in Super Mario Bros. He has repeatedly kidnapped or attempted to kidnap Princess Peach with the ultimate goal of defeating Mario and taking over the Mushroom Kingdom, though he has also attempted to conquer various other realms and even the entire universe. Since his debut, Bowser has appeared in almost every Mario game to date. Due to his role as the primary villain in the core Super Mario series, he is almost always the final boss in all of his appearances. And then we have his son Bowser Jr., who serves as the heir to his throne. He debuted in Super Mario Sunshine, and has since helped his father to kidnap Princess Peach and battle Mario and Luigi in many subsequent games. However, in some games he comes up with his own plan, for example in Super Mario Sunshine and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. But the question is, which of the two is the better villain and boss? Well, let's first look at their overall plan in the games. Who of them is more creative when it comes to this? Because the same plan over and over again is a bit boring. First, Bowser. In the earliest games, his plans and strategies were extremely simplistic, but this was most likely because of the primitive technology at the time. However, throughout the years he has had some genius and grand plans, for example in Super Mario Galaxy. Here he attacks Rosalina's Comet Observatory and steals all the Power Stars, as well as the 7 Grand Stars that power it. He then uses the power of these stars to unleash his entire fleet onto the cosmos and take over many galaxies, planning to construct a galaxy reactor powered by Grand Stars to create his own galaxy, and also ends up kidnapping Peach. What else? However, the part I mentioned before is an extremely ambitious and hard to reach goal. And the insane thing is, he would have succeeded if Mario didn't stop him. Clearly, he can be a very smart person who comes up with amazing plans. And there are multiple other games where he comes up with even better ones. Now, how does his son do in comparison? Keep in mind that he wasn't seen in as many games as Bowser though. We have seen him as the main antagonist in Super Mario Sunshine, and his plan in this game was actually pretty good. He uses a disguise and looks like a Shadow Mario. He uses this new form to paint magical graffiti all over the tropical resort Isle of Delfino in an attempt to frame Mario for the crimes. As soon as Mario's busy with solving that problem, he comes in and steals Peach. This is actually quite a good plan, and he even uses this tactic more often, so he is certainly clever. Sure, he doesn't take over the entire universe and create his own galaxy, but he has some impressive tricks up his sleeve. However, he can't really compete with his father, mostly because he has all the resources and means to make his plans reality. Now, maybe Bowser Jr. could win if he was in the exact same position as his dad, but we can't really be sure about this. So when it comes to crafting plans and making sure that it all works out, Bowser wins. Now, another important aspect for an iconic villain is his personality. They need to be interesting and fun after all, since they have a huge role in the game. First up, our Senior. When Bowser was created, he was a typical villain without much personality beyond simply wanting to take over the Mushroom Kingdom. But in later games, they started showing various different aspects of Bowser's character, depending on the nature of the plot. While his platformer role continues to be that of a simple antagonist, his Mario Party antics typically depict him being more angry, childish, and mischief than dangerous. And his portrayals in the RPGs ranging from a threatening, yet humorous villain to a playable anti-hero. Even when Bowser's acting as a protagonist in a game, he continues to insist he's an evil character, and his reasons for helping the protagonist are typically for his own selfish gains. So overall, he's a bit basic, except for the spin-off games where he developed some character, however, it's still not that much. Especially in the main series games, there's a strange disconnect between the player and Bowser, since you only really see him at the start and the end of the game. Besides that, he isn't really seen, so you don't really get to know him, see why he does things, and get the deeper meaning behind his plans and ideas. So overall, he can still be a lot of fun and interesting, however mostly in the spin-off games and not really in the main games. Now what about Bowser Jr.? Well, he can be summed up as a bold and energetic troublemaker. Now according to Mario Kart Wii, Bowser Jr. inherited his father's bad attitude, evident in his motto. He is also bratty, spoiled, and short-tempered. His favorite hobbies are stealing cookies, causing trouble for people, and scribbling, which may explain the widespread graffiti that was made at Isle Delfino. However, he seems determined to defeat Mario in a fair fight in order to prove his power. So he has a similar personality to his father, however with his own little twists, and he's also seen a lot more in the games where he has a role. A good example of a game where he shows off his personality is Super Mario Sunshine. His motive is interesting here. As it turns out, Bowser Jr. is told by his father that Princess Peach is his mother and that she was kidnapped by the evil Mario. As such, he tries to frame him by tagging the island as his lookalike Shadow Mario. Thus, he would be put in prison and the young Koopa could rescue his mama. Now, this has to be one of the deepest stories in the main series games, and also quite a sad one if you look at it from Bowser Jr.'s perspective. Besides that, this also started a huge discussion in the community about who his real mother is, since Peach isn't. Besides that, he's seen a lot more throughout the story and explains his motives more than his dad does. And this isn't only in Super Mario Sunshine. Overall, we get to experience his energetic and childish personality because he isn't as unreachable as Bowser, who's usually in his big castle and doesn't interact with the player a lot. So when it comes to the personality and the better, more fun villain, Bowser Jr. wins with a landslide. Now for the last important aspect of a villain, the boss fight. They need to be a fun challenge, they're the main threat after all. First up, Bowser. He's a bit all over the place when it comes to his battles. Some are great and others are horrible. An example of a bad one would be in New Super Mario Bros., where you fight him 3 times. 2 of those are extremely short. You just have to jump over him and stand on a button. However, the battle scene in Super Mario Odyssey is extremely dynamic and uses a ton of different mechanics and tactics. Some of them have been seen in the game and others are only seen in this fight. For example, his boxing glove hat. Besides that, he has different tactics, powers and weapons in almost every game, using a wide range of things to take out Mario, like magic, power-ups, traps and vehicles. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say. But overall, he has some good boss fights. Now for his son. He uses a lot more machines and modern weaponry than his father to take on Mario. Things like cannons, airships, his clown car, giant robots, and a lot more. Because of this, his boss fights are very different every time and also quite interesting. It creates a lot of variety and also surprisingly dynamic boss fights every time. For example, in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. Here, all his boss fights are based around the classic Koopa clown car, and all of them are completely different. You take him on 3 times, and all of them have their own cool mechanics. One of them is a bumper car-like battle, and in another you fight a huge and extra powerful Koopa clown car. The great thing about all of this is the fact that it's extremely different every time, because he can make use of a new machine in almost every game. There's only one weapon that he uses often, and that's the Koopa clown car. But that one gets new abilities every time we see it, so that won't really get boring. If I compare the two, then I can say with 100% certainty that Junior has a lot more interesting and fun fights than Bowser. Now, they both have great boss battles, but Junior's machines add such an interesting twist to almost every fight we see him in. And Bowser's magic, power-ups and vehicles can't really beat that, because in a lot of games, they don't have a huge impact. The breaking the bridge and chase fights are used too often in my opinion. Those are the fights that bring him down. So, who is the best villain? Is the son really an improvement, or do we need to stick with the good old times? Well, I would say that Bowser Jr. is certainly the better one, who also has more potential. Can you even imagine what he could do if he was in his father's position? Does this mean that Bowser is a bad villain? No, of course not. He is still great, but I think his son is certainly an improvement. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you all had a great Christmas and New Year's. I hope you all had fun and had great times. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe and like. Bye!